I've gone through a lot of change, and I kind of have come to the conclusion that our happiness and success, or they could be tied together, really come from how we respond to change. Because life is forever changing, and our ability to acclimate to certain changes will ultimately dictate how happy or unhappy we are.
An entrepreneur straight out of New York City, Michael Chernow was cracking.
What up, y'all? Welcome back to the Creatures of Habit podcast. This is going to be a solo episode, short and sweet. And today I want to talk to you about change. I think change is one of the toughest things us humans go through. And it could be any kind of change. It could be change in season. It could be change in business direction. It could be change in how a partner feels about you or how you feel about a partner. Change is really hard. And I've experienced so many different versions of change in my life, from changing my life completely from addicted to in recovery, to changing from a restaurant technician to a restaurateur, having to make a change from being injured and cutting out training for a while. That's a tough change to experience for someone who uses sport and athletics and fitness as mental health medicine. From changing business partners, I've gone through a lot of change, and I kind of have come to the conclusion that our happiness and success, or they could be tied together, really come from how we respond to change. Because life is forever changing, and our ability to acclimate to certain changes will ultimately dictate how happy or unhappy we are. Along with change comes emotional feelings. Another thing that I've learned along the way is that our feelings are kind of tied to reactions. And I know that living life through a reactive lens is never going to set me up for success. Similarly, feelings aren't facts. So if I react to the way I feel immediately when some sort of change is brought to my attention, chances are the reaction is not going to be something I'm happy about later on after thinking about it. So if you're going through change in your life right now and you're beating yourself up and you're acting out emotionally, just know that there is a better way. And that's where pause comes in. That's where self-awareness and living out your intentional life begins to play a role. Because you don't want to, I don't think anybody really wants to live in pain or in fear or unhappy. We all want to be happy. We all want to be happy. And at the end of the day, life is not always going to present itself in a positive way. So I just wanted to put this out there because I just recently had, gone through an experience where there's some real change potentially coming into my life. And I had to really think about the lessons I've learned over time. Am I going to go immediately into the darkness and think about the worst case scenario and find myself useless, basically, with grief because I haven't given myself enough time to potentially think through other avenues with this change or how I can be comfortable in the change? Change is something that happens all day, every single day. People change their minds all the time. People change their opinions on things all the time. And I'm talking about being on the other side of change right now, or for the last 5 minutes. But I also want to bring up when you change your mind, when you change your opinion, when you feel like you want to change the direction of a specific task or a specific or a business or a relationship, that's okay too. I found myself, creating these plans for life or business and feeling like if I change my mind, that's me sort of giving up or failing. It's just not the case. Just because you don't take a specific initiative through to fruition because you see it's just not working, if you change your mind and pivot to another direction, I think that's okay. Now, I'm not talking about quitting because it gets hard, because it's going to be hard. Everything that you do, most people that listen to this podcast are doing hard things on a regular basis, most of you. And if you're not, I would encourage you to do hard things because that's where we grow. I heard recently a quote that really made me smile. Pain is the price we pay for greatness. And I can totally relate to that. I'm gunning for greatness, guys. I'm gunning for greatness. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm gunning for greatness, and it's painful. It hurts, There are things that come up all the time where I doubt myself because I'm not good at a certain thing, and other people around me are. And of course, that self-doubt comes into play. That negative self-talk comes into play. It's how I respond to it. It's how we respond to life. Things are going to change all the time. Your opinion's going to change. And I just wanted to just get in your ear a little bit today to just let you know that whether change is being presented to you or you are the one contemplating and or presenting change to someone else or something else, it is okay. You will get through it. Do not react emotionally. Take a breath. Pause. Sometimes give yourself 20 minutes, give yourself an hour, sometimes give yourself a day or 2 or 3 to really sort of metabolize what's happening before you go out there and say initially what's on your mind. We can't control our first thought. Our first thought is typically judgmental. It just shows up. You don't really put much energy into it. And if somebody just walked into the NFL combine and said they wanted to be a football player, people would laugh them off the field. That's kind of how you have to think about your first thought. It just shows up. You've been doing all this work, and then all of a sudden, boom, something just shows up. How are you going to respond to that? Are you going to act? Are you going to act on that first thought? Because chances are it's not thorough, and feelings are not facts. So that was a bunch of stuff all in one. But I felt super relevant for me right now. I share from my heart on this podcast, and so I hope that resonated with some of you, if not a lot of you. Don't beat yourself up for living life and going through things that all of us go through. There are definitely times where I'm like, gosh, man, how come I? The thought goes, how come it's happening to me? And at the end of the day, it happens to everyone, all of us, even the ones sitting at the top of the mountain. They experience this stuff too. So if this podcast made you think, maybe made you feel better, maybe you totally disagree, however you feel about it, if you think it could help someone else, share it. Share the podcast. It would mean a lot to me. That's how we grow this thing. Give us a 5-star rating and a review. That really, really helps the podcast, a review specifically. And I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys, and I wish you the absolute best day or night ever. Until the next one, y'all. Peace.